Good evening. Good evening. It's beautiful to be back. Another weekend of great football. Great football in the Premier League. Another weekend of seeing big teams create pressure for themselves. Another week of chaos. Another week of action. A Premier League that saw the big teams that represent in the Champions League lose. But a Premier League that, for those that don't know, is on match day 31st. And for those that are just tuning in with this, esto es Pase Ambidiestro, Ambidextrous Pass, Fútbol Honestamente, Soccer, Football Honestly. And we're going to get right into this. We're going to go into this Premier League that is on match day 31st. Again, for those that don't know, was highlighted by Sunderland's historic Tyne-Wear derby double over Newcastle with a late 2-1 win, while Tottenham's season reached a new low after a 3-0 home defeat to Nottingham Forest. Left them hovering just above the relegation zone with 1 point. Arsenal maintained a 9-point lead at the top of the table following the previous play draw with Wolves, a game that was played ahead. As fellow contenders Liverpool stumble in a 2-1 defeat against Brighton. Elsewhere, Chelsea's slide continue with a heavy 3-0 loss at Everton, and Manchester United settled for a 2-2 draw against Bournemouth, while Man City's fixture was postponed against Crystal Palace due to the League Cup Final. And in this Premier League, we see in the mid-table of the Premier League, in this match day 31st, an essential high-stakes traffic jam in this mid-table where a mere 7 points separates 7th place Brentford from 14th place Crystal Palace. This weekend was a dream for the best of the rest pack. Several mid-table sides claim massive scalps against traditional Big Six clubs, effectively turning the European qualification race into a chaotic free-for-all. Every point matters for those that are trying to go up. Every point matters for those that are not trying to go lower than what they are at the moment. But in this Premier League match day 31, all the big clubs that played this match day 31 lost. Chelsea lost 3-0. Newcastle lost 2-1. Liverpool lost 2-1. And Tottenham lost 3-0. We're talking about teams that are supposed to represent the Premier League in the Champions League. Those 4 clubs, Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Tottenham, all saw losses in this match day 31. Could it be the fatigue from the Champions League? Perhaps. Could it just be rhythm? That's another reason that can be. But a Liverpool that won in the Champions League go through, but they lose in this Premier League match day 31. But we're going to dive right into this. And we're going to go straight into the games that happened this match day 31st. And we're going to start with a Bournemouth against a Manchester United. A game that ended 2-2. Harry Maguire experienced the ultimate hero to 0. Being sent off for a last-minute foul after United had twice surrendered a lead. Bruno Fernandes continued his solo mission to save United's season with a penalty and a forced own goal, but the Red Devils ultimately choked under the light at the Vitality Stadium. The 2-2 draw was Bournemouth's 15th draw of the season, proving that while they are nearly impossible to beat, they also have been addicted to sharing the spoils this season. And Bournemouth that is in the 13th place, and a Man United that is in 3rd place. But moving on, we have a Brighton against a Liverpool. A Brighton that wins at home 2-1 against Liverpool. Danny Welbeck turned back the clock with a clinical brace to remind the league that that guy is still very much a problem for the top four hopefuls. Liverpool lacked their usual spark despite Milos Kerkez, pulling one back. And as Arne Slot's side struggled to handle the Seagulls' high-octane transition play, the victory keeps Brighton firmly in the hunt for European football, while Liverpool consistency continues to fluctuate like a bad Wi-Fi signal. This Liverpool have not been consistent this season at all, but a Brighton that is in the 10th place and a Liverpool that is in the 5th place. When it comes to Brighton, this Brighton gives the feels of being a better team, that they should be in better position than they are at the moment in this Premier League, but sometimes they fall short. They play very well. Technically, they play very, very well, but they fall short at times. And this is the reason why this Brighton has been in the 10th place. But a Brighton that, again, gives the feel that they are better. They could be in a better position that they are in this Premier League table. And a Liverpool that just has not been consistent. They got their players, but they have not been consistent. They come from a great game with high intensity, taking it away in the Champions League from Galatasaray, winning at home 4-0, but they come into this Premier League Matchday 31 and they don't seem to translate that same intensity. Could it be the fatigue? Perhaps. But a Liverpool that is not able to translate that. It's not able to translate that intensity from Champions League to the Premier League, and that sees them lose this game 2-1. They will move on to a Fulham against a Burnley. A Fulham that wins at home 3-1 against a Burnley. Fulham shows some serious grit at Craven Cottage, coming from a goal down to eventually dismantle the tiring Burnley side. After Cian Fleming gave the visitors hope, the Cottagers responded with 3 goals in the final 25 minutes, including a late Raul Jimenez penalty that came from Lauren, who got a red for fouling Jimenez. The result keeps Fulham safely in the top half of the table, while Burnley remains anchored to the bottom with only 20 points of Fulham that is in 9th place and a Burnley that is in the 19th place. A Burnley that might and is looking like they will be one of the teams that will be seeing the relegation next season. For next season, they won't be playing Premier League football. They won't be playing First Division. They are most likely to be playing Championship football. Moving on, we have an Everton against a Chelsea. An Everton that wins 3-0 at home. The Toffees turn the Hill-Dixon Stadium into a fortress of noise as Beto bullied the Chelsea backline with a dominant brace performance. And Jordan Pickford celebrated his 100th Everton clean sheet with a series of acrobatic saves, further cementing his status as the club legend. Meanwhile, Chelsea fell to their 4th consecutive defeat, leaving manager Liam Resnor staring down at a very uncomfortable international break. And Everton that is in the 8th place and a Chelsea that is in the 6th place. And Everton that has been competing, but they are not able to secure the games at times. And Everton that is able to surprise this Chelsea. But most than anything, a Jordan Pickford. He has to be the starting goalkeeper for this England side when it comes to the World Cup. Why do I say that? Complete keeper at times, not all the times, at times he rushes and is understanding the heat of the game. It's understandable some decisions you make, but apart from that, a Pickford that is amazing under the goal. In this game, he had some great saves that were able to keep this clean sheet. And again, he's on his 100th clean sheet for Everton, just cementing his status as a club legend. But moving on, we are seeing a Leeds United against a Brentford. A game that ended 0-0. 0. In the game that could best be described as tactically rigid, or worse, as dull, neither side could find the breakthrough at Ellen Road. Leeds dominated the ball but lacked the cutting edge to be a disciplined Brentford block, resulting in the stalemate that helps neither team's specific ambitions. It was a classic last game of the match of the day encounter that leaves Brentford comfortably mid-table and Leeds still nervously looking over their shoulder. Leeds United that is in the 15th place and a Brentford that is in the 7th place. Then we have the Tyne-Wear Derby. A Newcastle that lost at home against Sunderland. Sunderland that wins 2-1 as visitors. The first Tyne-Wear Derby at St. James Park in a decade was an absolute powder keg. Ending a historic 2-1. Double for Black Cats thanks to Brighton Robbery's 90th minute winner. The match was unfortunately marred by a brief halt due to the racist abuse directly to Los Cerro Retreata, an incident that the Premier League is now investigating with a high priority. On the pitch, Eddie's how his job security is looking incredibly precarious after conceding a derby loss just days after a 7-2 in the Champions League, thumping in Barcelona. A Newcastle that is in the 12th place and a Sunderland that now is in the 11th place. A Sunderland that just leapfrogs over Newcastle, taking points from them and beating them at home in this Tyne-Wear Derby at St. James Park. A Newcastle coach that he looks like will not be coaching this Newcastle next year. That's how it's looking like more than anything. You come from a Champions League and you lose 7-2, not 3-2, not 5-2, 7-2. And then you go and try to play this Tyne-Wear Derby and you lose at home against a newly promoted Sunderland. That just puts your job on an hanging rope. But this Newcastle see their way out of the UCL, and now they see themselves struggling in this Premier League. Then moving on, we have an Aston Villa against a West Ham. An Aston Villa that wins 2-0 at home. Emery's men stayed professional and composed, using goals from John McGinn and Ollie Watkins to maintain their grip on the Champions League spot. West Ham offered very little in response and looked every bit like a team resigned to a relegation scrap as the season nears its climax. And Villa's home form continues to be bedrock on their success, keeping them fourth in the standings, and a West Ham that is in the 18th place. Then moving on, we have what is the last game of this Premier League Matchday 31. Is a Tottenham against a Nottingham Forest. A Tottenham that loses at home 3-0. Spurs have officially entered a full-blown existential crisis after a humiliating home defeat that leaves them just 1 point above the relegation zone, with only 30 points from 31 games. This is statistically Tottenham's worst top-flight campaign since 1914-1915 season, a year they were actually relegated. Is it repeating? We will see. There is exactly 7 games left. Every point at the moment matters. Every draw, every loss, every win counts as we speak for this Tottenham that is only 1 point above relegation zone. Interim boss Igor Tudor is under immense fire, especially after Forrest, Igor Jesus, and Morgan Gibbs White made the Spurs defense look like a group of polite tourist. That's what the Tottenham look like. There's always rumors. There's always headlines about conversations that maybe did not happen. Conversations that maybe did happen. Or topics that never came from the organization. Or topics that did come from the organization. But in this, Tottenham is 17th place, and Nottingham Forest just leapfrog to go 16th place. And Nottingham Forest is now 2 spots away from the relegation zone. But on that note, I telling him that there's definitely something going on in the organization. The players always try to come out and deny certain allegations, which is understandable. Some topics are not brought from the organization. Some topics are just brought from people around, news, reporters, journalists. Some topics are born from there, but some topics are just easy to know and see. There is something going on in this Tottenham organization. The players are playing like they don't even want to play. The players look like they are just filling a spot, doing what they have to do to look like they are playing, but there's no intensity, there's no emotion, there's no connection within the team itself. This Tottenham is suffering. The mentality has to change. The enthusiasm has to grow. There's only 7 games left. And every point matters. But if this Tottenham keeps going this way, there's 100% probability they will play championship football this season that comes on. 26-27 season, Tottenham are most likely to be in championship football if they don't pick up their enthusiasm, their mentality, and their team spirit in general. Tottenham looks depressing. There's something going on in this organization for them to be looking the way that they are. But at the same time, in this game, we had a Igor Tudor that had to leave the game due to a family emergency due to his father passing. And condolences for Tudor. Not easy situation, family matter. And then on top of that, your job is under fire, but family always comes first. This is another job where a lot of coaches say, worry about a job. No, they're not. They live a comfortable life. Family comes first at all times. But Igor Tudor that is having a hard time in this first few 4 or 5 games with Tottenham, and now he sees himself with a family matter and he has to solve that first. But this Tottenham, again, mentality, enthusiasm, and team spirit is not there. You can see when you watch this team play. They know in what situation they are, but the enthusiasm is not there at all. They are struggling. They are suffering. They are decaying, if anything. But football at times is like that. And some teams hit a slump. Some are able to crawl out of it. And some are just digging themselves in it deeper and deeper every time as the season goes. But in this match day 31 of the Premier League on the weekend, it delivered a pure chaos, headlined by massive slumps for traditional powerhouses and a historic upset in the Tyne-Wear derby. Sunderland completed a rare Premier League double over Newcastle, with Brian Roberts' 90th minute winner extending a remarkable trend that has seen the Black Cats take 14 of the last 18 points available at St. James Park. Meanwhile, Tottenham's campaigns officially reached crisis levels after a 3-0 home loss, dismantling by Nottingham Forest, leaving them just 1 point above the relegation zone with their worst statistical record in over a century. Everton's 3-0 drubbing of Chelsea saw Jordan Pickford secure his 100th clean sheet for the club, while Danny Welbeck clinical brace for Brighton further derail Liverpool's flickering title hopes. And finally, Manchester United won a 2-2 draw at Bournemouth, featured Harry Maguire red card and a 15th draw of the season for the Cherries, cementing a mid-table logjam where only 7 points separate 7th place from 14th place. And as we know, for this for English football, we had the EFL Cup Final, which was Manchester City against Arsenal, and a game where Manchester City won 2-0. 2-0. Watching and tracking and following personnel of these teams, players, and all this and all that, we know that in this game, Arsenal decided to just park the bus. They had their opportunities. They did not manage possession. They had their few opportunities that some were clear, some weren't as clear. But when you decide to park the bus against a Manchester City that is very technical on the ball, loves possession, they will suffocate you. And let's not forget, an Arteta that is an apprentice of Guardiola. So on that note, Man City is the best technical team in the competition. In this competition, in the EFL Cup, and in the Premier League in general. In Manchester City, that is the best technical team, you could say, in England. In general, here comes the comparison. The technicality of the game that Man City have compared to Arsenal does not compensate. Arsenal tries to play that technical game. But when you go against a giant that has master, who is Pep Guardiola, this technical game and the possession and the moving of the ball at a certain pace, for Arsenal, it doesn't compensate. Arsenal tries to be as technical as they can be. But when you put these two teams together, Man City is the best technical team. But when you see Arsenal don't have that much technicality as Manchester City. So one thing I have noticed is that when Arsenal play against certain teams, they are able to play that technical football and manage the game with possession, with the actual technical part of the game. But when Arsenal plays against a team that is more technical than them, which is Manchester City, Arsenal tend to micromanage the game. So Manchester City is technical. Arsenal tries to be technical. But what Arsenal is missing in that technicality, they try to apply it into micromanaging the game. This is where we see this Arsenal that tries to slow down the game with taking their time on set pieces, on getting fouls, on all the type of set pieces you can think. Throw-ins, free kicks, corner kicks, certain movement of the ball when you try to do the set pieces. So again, the technicality that Arsenal is missing compared to Manchester City, how they try to compensate it is by micromanaging the game. It has worked for them against certain adversaries. But when you're playing against a more technical side, you try to micromanage the game. And that's what Arsenal has been doing this whole season. They try to micromanage the game when they see that the adversary is as technical as them or just a little bit more technical than them. But Arteta now loses the chance to win 4 titles and is reduced to 3 titles. Now they have the FA Cup. Now they have the Premier League and the Champions League. He can still go for a treble. But this Arsenal loses this EFL Cup to a Manchester City that has been Manchester City. But that's all for the Premier League. That's all for English football. English football that now moves on to match day 32. And we won't be seeing any more football from the Premier League until April 10th due to the international break. We won't see any more Premier League till April 10th due to the international break. But that's all for the Premier League. That's all the big teams that play lose. Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Tottenham, teams that were representing the Premier League in the Champions League, come back to this match day 31st, and they all see a loss on this match day 31st. And as we know, Arsenal played the game ahead against Wolves that ended in a draw, and Manchester City game against Crystal Palace got postponed due to the final of the EFL Cup. A Manchester City that has a game on hand still. But Arsenal stay clear with 9 points at the top of this Premier League. Pero eso es todo por hoy. Esto es todo por parte de Pase Ambidiestro. Ambidextrous Pass. Fútbol honestamente. Soccer, football honestly. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you for always tuning in. Have a great day.